When we think about how a city gets built, we're really watching a clash between two totally different visions. On one side, you've got the master blueprint, this single grand design for everything. And on the other, you have a city that grows more like a conversation, shaped by thousands of different voices. It's the blueprint versus the conversation. So let's dive into what that really means.
Have you ever traveled to a new city and just gotten this weird sense of déjà vu? You know that feeling where even with different street names, you feel like you've been there before. From the downtowns to the suburbs, so many places share this uniform, almost copy and paste feeling. Well, it turns out that's not an accident. It's actually a design choice.
So that feeling of sameness, it's a huge symptom of a very specific philosophy of city planning. We see these monotonous landscapes that were all planned from the top down by some central authority. And that authority? It's working from a single, rigid idea of what's good for everyone, which usually means the actual citizens have very little direct say in how their own neighborhoods get shaped. And that philosophy has a name: modernism. This is the blueprint approach. The whole idea is that you can design a perfect, totally rational city from a distance, kind of like an architect drawing up plans for a building, and then just impose it on the world. So what does that actually look like in practice? Well, modern urban planning really believes that cities can be perfected. It's this all-encompassing approach where the experts, the planners, use what they see as objective, scientific methods to solve all the city's problems. And the end goal is always to serve one unified idea of the public good. The modernist planner's toolkit is really all about control and rationality. It's a top-down, super technical process where the planner is the undisputed expert. The main goals are efficiency and order, and this is exactly why those cities feel the same. This approach just leads to uniformity because of standardization and mass production. To a modernist, a city isn't really a living, breathing thing. It's just a complex problem that needs a logical solution. But what if a city isn't a problem to be solved? What if it's more like a conversation to be had? This is the heart of the counter-philosophy, postmodernism. It's basically a reaction against that rigid blueprint, arguing that cities should be built from the ground up, not from the top down. Now, what's really fascinating here is just the language. Compared to the cold, technical terms of modernism, here we're seeing words like interactive, multilateral, and participation. Postmodern planning isn't a one-way street. It's a process that demands direct, bottom-up involvement from the community at every single stage, because it accepts that there isn't just one public good, but a whole bunch of competing public interests. So the most crucial difference here is the flow of power. In that modernist model, the plans are created by central authorities, by the experts, and then they're just handed down. But in the postmodern model, the ideas and the decisions flow up from the community itself. It's a total shift in who gets to decide what a city should even be. This also completely changes the definition of success. Modernism is shooting for a single, unified goal, one rational outcome that's supposed to be good for everybody. Postmodernism just throws that idea out the window. It argues that a city is made of countless different people with different needs and values. The goal isn't to find one perfect answer, but to create a place where many different answers can all exist at the same time. And as you can imagine, this completely transforms the job of the city planner. Under modernism, the planner is the expert, the authority figure who has the one right answer. But in a postmodern world, the planner's role changes dramatically. They're no longer the dictator of design. They're more like a moderator, someone who helps guide the conversation and helps the community find its own solutions. Okay, I know this might all sound very theoretical, a debate for academics. But in 2017, this exact philosophical battle took center stage in the real world. Turkey brought together a national urbanism council to figure out the future of its cities, and in doing so, they created a perfect case study of this shift from the blueprint to the conversation. So the situation was pretty clear. Turkey's cities were facing massive challenges because of rapid growth. And the old way of doing things, that top-down modernist blueprint, was seen as the source of a lot of the problems, like that urban sameness and a real lack of identity. They knew they needed a new vision. So to tackle this whole thing, the council was broken down into 4 key commissions. Each one was assigned to investigate a critical piece of city life, from design and identity all the way to migration and local government. And just look at what they found. This table perfectly captures the philosophical shift.
The Identity and Design Commission called out the sameness of cities and said they should focus on local values and quality instead. The Urban Transformation Group wanted to get away from rigid, top-down projects and move toward a flexible process with lots of different actors. Across the board, they identified a modernist problem and proposed a postmodern solution.
So the final vision that came out of this council was just deeply postmodern. The recommendations were all about prioritizing human-scale design and this idea they called the spirit of the place. They argued for flexible, negotiation-based planning, for transparency and participation, and for valuing a place's unique identity over those one-size-fits-all models. The big goal was to create a city for all.
It sounds like a revolution, right? A whole nation officially choosing conversation over the blueprint. But as inspiring as that vision was, it ran headfirst into a huge obstacle. The question became, how do you actually turn these amazing ideas into reality on the streets?
And this is the major catch. The council's vision was inspiring, a really clear roadmap for a new kind of city. But its findings weren't laws. They were advisory, just a set of recommendations for the policymakers to maybe consider. And this quote just nails the crucial takeaway from the analysis of the council's work. There was a huge shift in the official conversation about city planning. But, as the research concludes, these powerful new ideas have pretty much just stayed on paper. The vision hasn't really gone beyond words to be put into practice in any meaningful way.
And that leaves us with the ultimate question, not just for Turkey, but really for any city trying to change. It's one thing to create a beautiful new blueprint, or even better, to start a new conversation. But it's another thing entirely to actually build it. How do we close that massive gap between the city we envision and the one we actually live in?